Gonna be going down for a round 2. Ding ding! Because once again, it's gonna be a waterfall map. Into the Mediterranean. Hello. Oh, I haven't had a chance to check out this map yet. Quite excited to see what surprises it holds for us. So, for those who haven't seen Mediterranean before, makes sense. It's just literally a lake, a very big lake. Think Nagari out the side cliffs and a little bit more open on the flanks, and 2 sacred sites as well. So yeah, this is one I've been curious to see if it's going to get played. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this was announced for the Wololo pool rotation. I think it'd be a really cool map. It has some elements of like the way Boulder Bays like to play out, right? Where there is a presence on Navy side. But the cool thing, similarly to Boulder Bay, I think actually maybe better than Boulder Bay, is that you can play land and you have options on land because there's 2 flanks. So it's very difficult for your opponent to wall off. If you remember, one of the big stagnant issues with Boulder Bay, which I don't think is going to be a big issue with the new Boulder Bay with the new naval format, by the way, is that someone could just bog you down a Navy and then block one side and thumbs up, easy peasy. Now, with there being 2 routes to the base on a map like Mediterranean, I think you actually get a cooler opportunity to not necessarily fully ignore Navy, but maybe make it a sidestep in your plan to world domination, right? And be more reliant on land. We'll see if it plays out that way. I think gold actually, like, one thing I wouldn't mind about gold to kind of encourage that as well is if the gold spawns were less less condensed, because looking at these stats, Krakeny has 3 gold veins very close to his base, and BC similarly has 3. His last one is in the corner, a little bit exposed though, but you have at least 2 gold veins you can access for free. I wonder if like just having your first gold vein safe and then the next one further out in the midfield would encourage a bit more land play, but I'm getting ahead of myself, right? We need to see how it's going to play out. Of course, the opening is going to be as expected. They both will go onto the water side with the fishing underway. Big difference this time around, though. BC once again did go for the French, but Krakeny did not go for his English. This time, Krakeny went for the Chinese. Interesting switch up. We'll have to see if it has any sort of impact here. One thing I'm curious to see is actually if Hulks and Warjunks have any difference in stats. I'm expecting it to just be like, you know, across the board the same. But one thing to keep in mind is despite all the changes to Navy, in terms of like Civ-specific perks, things weren't tweaked too much. And I just realized I'm an idiot. I haven't put on caster mode. Oops. Just shake that a little bit. You guys didn't see how long the game's got left. Don't ruin it for yourself. That was weird, by the way. But one cool thing to think about here is that the Chinese still get their 20% increased build speed. You're seeing it here, right? So he can build his junks quicker than BC can build Hulks. He can get his boom ships out incredibly fast every 12 seconds. And in the meantime, he's going to be able to get his fishing online faster, right? 20 seconds compared to the 25. So this should allow Krakeny to get a little bit more kind of compounded effect going to like his economy. He should be able to maybe afford a few military units on land, especially with the fact that his fishing fleet should be booming up faster. Could also choose to go for Song Dynasty, just set himself up a bit more land eco-based long term. Love the fact he's got so many people on fishing right now. This is actually a very big deal. Krakeny should get a much better tech timing for feudal than BC is able to achieve. That issue becomes snowballed when you consider not only is Krakeny getting better gathering rates, but then on top of that, he's going to get a better build speed, right? So it actually escalates quite nicely. And yes, folks, this is Capture Age. Apologies for opening up, for forgetting to put that on. Actually, one small thing I wouldn't mind seeing is an option to just default to Capture Age. I'll check the options afterwards to see if that's an option. Opening-wise, Krakeny, how are we looking? So he is actually supervising. Overall, he's got a lot more people on wood. And interesting enough, Krakeny has avoided the gold altogether. He's just taxing his way towards a tech up. This has left him a little bit miscued, though. I think he's going to have a lot of extra food sitting in the bank. I hope he does invest it into stables and 1 or 2 horsemen. Just blocking his opponent off the gold and forcing a French player to react with cavalry of his own or spearmen of his own is quite annoying. Peaceful opening. I'm a little bit surprised that BC didn't invest more people onto the food. Then again, I think he, like, because he went on the gold, maybe that's the difference here, right? Krakeny didn't go on to gold. And he did. But of course, that's changing for Krakeny. And I'm glad it is, because the issue of what Krakeny was doing at the start, it's cute, this whole idea of just taxing your way up. But the problem is, like, even if you do get there at efficient timing, what do you do afterwards? You still need more gold because of the cost of war junks and demo ships. You could argue you just build junks, but that alone doesn't cut it. Not in a naval situation now where there's a triangle effect of counters. Looks like we are going to be going up with the Imperial Academy. Love this choice. It means that the dock's going to benefit as well. He's almost always going to be dropping off this dock for a long time. So now he's going to double the amount of tax generated here. It's not going to be a large quantity because we do have to remember that these fishing boats go up to 40 food before returning for a drop-off. But it's still going to be a little bit of extra cheddar in the pocket. And why is that important? Well, it means that he can build Imperial officials out of here, and that can offset his requirement of people working on gold or on wood, right? Like, he can divert his villages elsewhere. So, always worthwhile. The other cool thing, actually, about being able to go Imperial Academy like this as a Chinese on a naval map is that you can definitely afford your taxes because 2/3 of their cost is food. And if you think about usually how these naval combat situations go, is if you're mainly just Navy, you end up building a huge surplus of food. So now you actually have a way of utilizing that early on. Looks like it has been scattered out. Double dock play coming from BC. This is a logical choice what BC's done here. He's up against the Chinese. We already mentioned this 20% increased build speed that Crackety has access to. So your only choice is to out-dock him. And it looks like you're going to get away with that for quite a while because Crackety is choosing to wall himself in, showing a lot of respect over to the potential cavalry, especially considering BC just done this in the last time against Crackety, where he went for Horseman and 1 Knight. And we're going to see a similar opening from BC, where he starts off the Horseman and goes for the Knight later on. In fact, it might be that he doesn't even bother if he sees the wall going up. But, oh, Crackety. Oh, it's too late. He has not got Wheelbarrow nowhere near it there in time. It means that BC is going to make his way into the economy and force some idle time. And Crackety, he hasn't got an answer yet. He hasn't gone for racks, hasn't gone for stables, has no way of stopping this harassment at the beginning. First Hulks are out for BC. Meanwhile, on the other side, Crackety already up to a war junk, 2 junks. Junk, and more junk. Sounds good to me. Yeah, the horsemen are in. This is what I was waiting for. Now, shivs are going to come out, but even if you eventually kill them, it's the idle time they're going to force. And love this choice being made here. Goes after the imp officials because they can't defend themselves. Has forced the racks, as well as the spearman commitment now coming out from Crackety. And problem for Crackety, he's probably going to want 4 or 5 spearmen to feel content. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an intercept on the walls. Oh, BC, I don't think he even realizes this is happening. He doesn't even suspect it at all. Crackety is paranoid, so he's moving out there now. Meantime, though, we'll be able to snipe out a few eco units because it looks like Crackety is going to be slow to pull away. It's so frustrating, actually, how much damage just 2 horsemen are doing here. It's 2 villagers already. They'll still be able to get away. Walls have at least almost gone up, but this is definitely going to hit Crackety in the eco. Militarily, he might also start to fall behind. It's like so far, it is just going to be the galleys and the junks coming up for both sides. Actually, I say that. Crackety has got a boom ship mixed in. Now, guys, this is where you get big brain, all right? Hide the boom ship behind the giant sails. I actually think it's easier to hide a boom ship behind war junks than it is to hide them behind hulks. The reason is the tilted flag, by the way. So that when you're like, so let's, in this format, when I'm going this way, these sails are actually going to hide at an angle that fully covers the screen more so than the hulks will. It sounds so dumb and trivial, but like it's actually an interesting detail to think about. War junk's clearly OP, guys. Although not looking at here, BC just outnumbered him. Crackety tried to get cute, but the explosive junk wasn't able to do anything. We'll need to repair it. Okay, I lied. The hulks are definitely better. So the difference is war junks have height on sails and hulks have width, right? But I think the important detail to keep in mind here, the reason why Crackety has an edge is if you're a stubborn butthole like me and you don't like to tilt your camera, then you can't see boom ships. My brain looking for all the cute small things that don't exist. But yeah, like at this level of play, BC's probably going to these fights and doing this so that he can see the junk ships, he can see the demo ships behind them and knows how to target them. Don't be like me. Don't just stick to one camera angle like you're not allowed to change. Holy crap, the demo ships from Crackety though. He can sink the entire fleet with this. Now BC, he does have 2 galleys. The key detail here for Crackety, he needs to stagger his boom ships. If he sends them in together, the bonus damage is going to saturate and he's going to lose all of them. Arrow shots coming out. One gets taken down, only one so far. Boom ships are going to be expended on the backside. They make their way in. Decent value is going to be obtained. Now the junks can begin to dive. Good place by Crackety. Takes the edge there and now has the military lead. He's going to start sinking the fleet. Go straight after the fishing eco because BC went a little bit greedy here with 3 docks. And we even notices the side eco. It's a great value being extracted. Does need to start peeling away though. These fights are going to start to backfire for him, especially considering that BC has the home field advantage. But good play there. It was a pricey play though. We have to keep in mind that the cost of these junks is not cheap. It's 160 resources. Each junk you sink, 240 resources. The war junks or hulks being taken out is the big deal. He didn't actually kill that many hulks, right? He used 2 demo ships to get rid of the archer ships, which is definitely still a lead. And I think he went after the final hulk. But he had 5 demo ships total. I think he killed 2 archer ships and a hulk. So this trade wouldn't have been good if it wasn't for the fishing follow-up. That's what I think made it a little bit better for Crackety. But you kind of need that because, like, economically, Beastie is now ahead. In fact, his fishing fleet should be, it's still bigger. Beastie still, wait, oh no, I'm lying. That's Crackety's. Crackety has the 1-point lead, but considering he's playing as the Chinese at this stage, and also he's the one that attacked Eco, you'd think he'd have more than this. Huh, that is actually one detail that's... Okay, yeah, so I just have to get used to looking here instead. I used to look up the top to see who I was watching, but now you have to look for the eye to see whose perspective you have. Beastie. Oh, he still has, oh, wow, he has a scout inside, so he sees everything in this area. And it seems like Crackety doesn't know about it. He has got Tang Dynasty, but still just not enough vision to see. Not with a scout, not nearby. In fact, I believe Crackety, yeah, he's still running around in Beastie's base. So he has full eyeballs on. However, the fleet is on the go, and it looks like boom ships have entered the fray for Beastie this time. And looking at the situation, Beastie's once again just crawled in a lead. I think the stagnant eco on land was effective. It helped out a little bit, but it's just the way that he chose to double down on greed at the early stages of Naval that put him ahead. And now I'm a little bit frightened for Crackety. Demo ships marching in. Notice he has him splintered. And Crackety doesn't react straight away. Heavy damage done. Follow-up's going to be even bigger. Boom ship's going to start exchanging. They're making their way in. Need to be careful. Beastie will peel back just in time. And it looks like he baited Crackety into a bad exchange. Demo ships go in, but they do not get their bang for buck. Heavy damage done, but no serious damage achieved yet. And at the end of it, Beastie still with a sizable firepower lead as he starts to dive in. Gonna target out the eco as well. Love the galleys peeling off to deal with the fishing fleet. Hulks are going to stand their ground. Looks like he's finally going to peel back the heavy injuries on him. Demo ships will at least get one final boom, maybe. It looks like Crackety is going to save it, but at the end of the day, despite the fact what the military lead sees, I don't feel like Crackety has the lead. I think Beastie's still ahead. And wow. Okay, so he even baits it in. That exchange isn't actually monetarily bad for Beastie. Like, mathematically, that's an even exchange. Wow. That's why he stuck the Hulk there. That's why he allowed it. That's actually a crazy detail to think about, is you need 2 boom ships to get through a Hulk. So unless you catch 2, it's maybe not the best of exchanges unless you've got follow-up firepower. And the firepower is definitely there. Beastie, just with the optimized format here, doesn't saturate himself too much, doesn't give up too many opportunities for archer ships or boom ships, and all of a sudden he has full control of the water now. Great micro from Beastie. With the whole military force gone, now you feel like Crackety's in a bit of a pickle. He's going to push out a few more of these war junks, but they are just heavily discredited now. Very difficult for them to combat against this. Now, Hulks, keep in mind, do not kill off docks as quickly as they used to. 2,000 HP and with 50 range resistance, it means that you're only doing about 30 damage per shot. But over time, these dock lines are going to disappear. Right now, it feels like Crackety is investing into a lost battle. His only way back into this is to try and play onto land. The problem is, if you do that now, after such a heavy investment, how far behind are you going to be? Because you just lost all the food eco. Meanwhile, Beasties is booming. Almost 3 times the food income for the French. And that just might be it, actually. I don't think Crackety is set up for a land conversion at all. He hasn't got his Song Dynasty. He went for Castle Age Rush, which doesn't benefit him on water at all. Yeah, this is actually chalked. A decent idea. Crackety to try and sneak castle, but like I'm kind of puzzled, to be honest. I didn't notice this detail in the moment because it doesn't really make sense. The argument is that you have all this extra food, but imagine if that food was invested into a bunch of spears running across the field or horsemen running across the field. Instead, you just kind of crippled your ability to do anything on the map. And Beastie quite rightly played Prolonged Feudal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Unless you can find a way to turn it into land force, Castle Age doesn't really offer up much in naval battles. Not anymore. Just overall, really good play coming out from Beastie. Means he takes lead. Without shadows, it looks weird. Oh, yeah, that's true. I turned off shadows. Totally forgot. And now the land force arriving. I mean, it feels like Crackley's time in this game is now very much numbered. At least keep the Scream alive. And it's not the worst of ideas to try and deal with all these ships, but the problem is your whole naval side is gone. So even if you push the ships away, there's no way you want to rebuild onto the sea. And I think this is where BC's probably just going to double down on night production. He might even look to just tech up. In fact, it looks like he's saving up the food and gold required. So yeah, he's going to make his way up into Castle Age. Wait, he's already in Castle. I'm an idiot. Ignore me. Now he's in Castle Age, though, he could just hop, skip, and jump into Imperial, actually. Because if he goes in for a Carrack, he can just camp the side and block buildings. Then again, if he wanted to do that, he could just be building galleasses anyway, right? What is he investing in? Okay, yeah, it was just a delayed investment. That makes more sense. So it's going to be mass knights. Spears are coming out. Springles with force as well. So this is still the issue that can exist in naval, right? It's like when you fall one step behind, it feels like you're 2 or 3 steps behind. One thing I will say, at least, though, is that this feeling of being behind arrives quicker, which I think is a beneficial element to the new naval system. You don't just wait a very long time for a very stagnant assault that feels like takes place over 6, 7, 8 different battles. Instead, this was more or less decided in 2 to 3 battles. A much better system, if you ask me. Dude, look how low the damage is on these Springles. It still doesn't matter, though. They just move too fast. Good lord. Yeah. Siege. Yeah, anti-siege definitely counters out naval, just not small quantities, guys. Oh, man, that moment when your Springald operators know they screwed up. Pile dot going down. Knight's now riding in. This should be it. I mean, we're playing a naval game here, sure, but it's still a game where the Chinese are almost being doubled up in eco by the French. That's not something that happens often, whether you're talking land or sea. But still, well played by Beastie. Mediterranean looks like a fun map, though. Definitely some viability to playing land instead. Just feels like Beastie beamed at the punchline. Forced this wall investment. The wall investment came too late, so there was idle eco, a point for Crackety. We never saw him utilize this food into a land force, and it's why this looked like a pretty clean game from Beastie. Outside of one assault in by Crackety, where he at least killed off some fishing, nothing has really been done to hinder Beastie from reaching this stage. And oh my good God, if he could see just how many fishing boats are operating here, and if he could see this as what? Beastie is trading with the trade post right next to Crackety's base. How to BM on a naval map. I mean, this almost feels like the way, but it's not even BM. It's just an optimal choice now. That's why he took out the Springles, because now Crackety is 10 miles behind his opponent. And GG is going to get called.